This is the video report for TE150. I am Jill Horn, and this is
Philip Croff.
We're going to go over our information that we received from our interviewees. I met with Serkan from Turkey. We went over his customs, his Turkish customs, and how he adjusted with them in America, and also we went over his learning in Turkey versus learning in the U.S.
My student was Sterling. She's a 19-year-old Haitian immigrant, and she's a student at Grand Rapids Community College. She's going to school to become a nurse. Her first language is Creole, which is closely based on French. And I met her because she often comes into the place, which is an acronym for providing learning atmosphere through coaching and encouragement. She is a tutoring lab at the college for introductory classes where I work as a professional tutor.
Both of our students sought help once they realized that they were going to struggle with their studies in America. It's not necessarily that they had waited until they got into the classes and started to struggle, but they knew from prior learning experiences that they didn't handle the material in a particular subject area as well as they did in others. Serkan knew from his schooling in Turkey that he did better in science and math, and when it came to his technical writing to do that, he knew that he didn't do as well as the other subjects, especially since now it was going to be written in English. So he didn't hesitate to get help from his advisors. I found this interesting because I think most American students wait until they are in too much trouble before they get help. And I also, I didn't think about how hard writing in English might be for someone who doesn't have that as their primary language. Usually most of the international students that come here speak English pretty well. So I didn't even think about writing it with the little nuances that we have as far as grammar and things like that.
As Jill said, both of our interviewees did seek additional help for their classwork. For Sterling, she's sought after math tutoring for MA 95, which is basic math at GRCC. Asking her why it's difficult, she said, I don't know, it's just difficult, and I can relate to that because I've had difficulty in math too. She understands the material, though she gets to taking tests. She finds that she makes little mistakes. She mixes up operations such as multiplication and division. There's metacognition at work with Sterling, as she recognized that she was having difficulties in math and sought help. Also, there's task knowledge, as she recognized that math is difficult for her. She comes to the place and studies there with her friend Shawana. Practice and repetition seems to work best for her. Myself, along with other tutors, have helped her with working through math problems. We've given her other examples and worksheets with additional problems. She's also demonstrated automaticity as practice has helped to improve her math skills and performance on tests. Also, her friend Shawana is in MA 96, notch above her class, and has helped her. Sterling says that help from the place along with studying with Shawana has helped to improve her grade considerably. Another case of Sterling using metacognition is her decision to drop EN 97, which is Academic Foundations of English 1. She saw that things just weren't going too well, and at first I had to do the same thing, as the work required to boost the grade back up in the class was not worth the effort. Though it has not resulted in learned helplessness, as she took the class again during a summer semester with another instructor and passed the class with an A.
As far as motivation is concerned with our interviewees, I believe that they're both intrinsically and extrinsically motivated, just in different ways. Since Serkan naturally excels at science and math, he was definitely intrinsically motivated when he chose to continue his studies in those subject areas in the U.S. even going all the way to PhD level. When it did come to his technical writings in those subject areas though, he was extrinsically motivated because he knew that he had to do well with them in order to succeed in the class overall. What was interesting to me is that even though he attributes his ability to his success in these subjects, he still applies a great amount of effort. And this is because the further that he gets into his major, the harder the subject material gets, and so he applies more effort. If I were to study in those subjects, I know that I would have to apply a great amount of effort to even try and do as well as Sircon. So it was just interesting to me because I'm not so inclined to math and science as he is.
As far as motivation with Sterling, she wants to pass every 95. Extrinsically, she does not find it particularly interesting, but she knows she needs to pass the class in order to reach her career goal as becoming a nurse. English, though, for her, had both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsically, she wanted to pass it and get it over with this time as she dropped it previously. She also wanted to keep her GPA up, and she knows that's good for transferring to another institution. Intrinsically, though, Sterling likes getting good grades. She had a better relationship with this instructor than the previous one, which just helped. And there is also the attribution theory of motivation in this case, as humans like feeling good about themselves, and getting good grades would certainly lead to that.
Some new thoughts that this project brought to me was that Sircon had mentioned the differences between the Turkish school systems and the Turkish school systems and the American school systems. He explained that his schooling in Turkey was very rigid, which helped him when he came to America to study in applying himself to his classes and driving him towards a success. I only found this interesting because I really hadn't put much thought into how different a school system could be compared to what I went through.
Some interesting things that I found, dropping a class is not the end of the world, as both Sterling and I have had to do that. Also, my tutoring work at the place has been helping Sterling, which gives me satisfaction in my job at the college. Implications for teaching include teaching of English for ESL students, and support for English learners needs to exist. It does at the college, but it seems that Sterling's high school education let her down, and she's having to take pre-101 classes at the college.
So for the implications for Sircon, he studied his primary and secondary studies in Turkey and then came to America he came to the United States for his post-secondary studies. And so he already had this foundation of the English language and this background that it sounds like Sterling did not have, which I could believe would be really hard if he hadn't had that foundation to build up on. It just some other implications that I thought of learning or speaking with Sircon was that I would just want to make sure that they are perceiving what I'm teaching without having their own background knowledge getting in the way of what is right and what's not. And just to make sure that they all understand that there are options for getting help, regardless of whether they're a native or an international student. And just to teach in different, to teach in a variety of ways to reach all of the students and make sure that they all are getting the help they need at some point in time in the class.
So yeah, we learned a lot in the cultural interaction project that we had, and it's a good experience, and hopefully we'll be able to apply some of these things in our future careers.